All right, everybody, welcome back to the Keep It Kula Podcast. I'm Jaclyn, along here with Mark. We haven't filmed in a little while. It's been
a bit.
Been about a week or two. I did say I would be in my new little, studio area for the next episode. I'm up in Waterloo, so I kind of have a new little set going on. I don't know how the audio is going to sound, or if it's going to be all glitchy, or how it looks, because I haven't filmed here yet, because I've only filmed in my basement at home. So it's my first time filming not at home, which is kind of weird for me, definitely. But still have my Saquon jersey here, Eli jersey, Eli helmet. So I'm keeping it sporty still,
Yeah, I will say it sounds good and it
Yeah.
looks good. So it's
Perfect.
everything's going well for you. I'm in the same little setup that we got here. So, but no, it's good to that's what you were saying last time, right? And I was waiting to see this. So it's a good old Giants setup there. You guys should have been able to beat the Chiefs last week, but that's a different topic. So.
We can get to that after. But to start it off, big news came out. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? We're filming this on November 5th. Aaron Rodgers tested positive for COVID, and he's not vaccinated. And at the beginning of the season, he was asked, Rodgers, are you vaccinated? He said yes. And now, or he kind of hinted that he was vaxxed.
He definitely hinted that he was, right?
Yeah,
like he said he was immunized.
Right. So he never denied, because most people who aren't vaxxed will say it. They want you to know that they're not vaccinated. And he pretty much lied and put everybody he's around at risk, because when you're not vaxxed, you have to wear a mask, right, at the press conferences. Yes. And he hasn't been.
Yep. No, and exactly.
So every reporter there is at risk. Every teammate is at risk. Everyone on that staff is at risk. Even the fans are at risk. When he jumps into the stands, those people are at risk now. So what he did is so selfish, and I'm disgusted by it.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? Because all the Lambeau leaps too, right? Like you think, when he jumps into the fans and obviously he's not wearing a mask at that point, but there's all those protocols for the unvaccinated NFL players, like enhanced protocols. You got to wear a mask. Yeah. I think there's a lot of other, if you catch COVID, he's got to be out now until the 13th. Like he's just going to make it back for next week's game, which he's lucky in that case. But yeah, to the point, why would he lie about that? Right. Like you said, most people who didn't even get the vaccine are pretty strong about it, right? They're and no, we don't want it for whatever reason. He sat there and lied. And I think it's a bigger thing. Like we go back to everything we talked about this summer about the trade rumors and how he didn't want to play for Green Bay and how he was getting upset because of all these things. I feel like, I don't know, maybe there's like a bit of an ego problem with him. And like maybe he lied because he didn't want to suffer the criticism. Right, because he didn't want everybody to be talking about how he was unvaccinated or something like that. I don't know, like he's on the Pat McAfee show now, and that's already kind of what he's saying.
Everyone on Twitter is just talking about it.
Yeah, like he's on Pat McAfee's podcast right now. I think they have AJ Hawk there, one of his former teammates, playing as well, who he played with, sorry. And I think he said one of the quotes was that he's a victim of cancel culture.
Yeah.
Which he's the one who kind of brought this all onto himself. So for him to say that is super, I don't know.
Right. It's one thing, because I believe he may have said that there's something in the vaccine that he's possibly allergic to. That's a different story. But then you at least say that so that they can do the proper protocols, because there are people who can't get vaccinated in the world. It's not that, if you are able to, you should definitely be vaxxed. But not everybody can, because people have allergies. But then if you can't be vaxxed, then you have to follow all of these rules, right? For example, in Waterloo, if you want to go out to a club, or really anywhere, if you want to go to a club, you have to show a vaccination card. And if you want to go anywhere, you need to show a vaccination card, because you're putting other people at risk. For Rodgers not to be vaxxed, that's just a different story. But for him to lie about it and now putting everybody on that team at risk is the problem here. And is he going to be fined for this? Like, what could happen in this case?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? I was hearing yesterday during the Jets and Colts game, what a bad Thursday night football game that was. But I was hearing yesterday during that game that the NFL is actually starting an investigation into seeing if he broke protocols, and which he definitely did, like you said off the top. I don't think he ever wore a mask to a press conference. So he should 100% get a fine, right? Based on the protocols. And we talked about these protocols when they were first announced. It even goes the way of if he caused an outbreak, which like you said, he's a risk to others. Green Bay would have to forfeit this game. So they're
Right.
lucky that with him getting COVID this week, nobody else caught it, because they would be in serious trouble. And then I think you would start getting more criticism from the coach or
Right.
criticism from the players around him. He might be in good water still with them just because he's Aaron Rodgers,
Right. He's
but
yeah.
like what he's done, putting the risk to others and just flat out lying.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand it. And to me, and who knows? I mean, he definitely very well could be allergic to it, but it definitely seems like a cop out and kind of an excuse to me, because the NFL, like you said, there's people who can't get it. They would grant you a medical exemption, and he was never granted that.
Nope.
So it feels like to me he's trying to help his
Right.
image out a little bit. But we'll see, I guess, what
We'll
happens with the
see.
fallout and stuff with it. Um, I just don't know why he would lie, and that's where I sit back and think, does he really not like criticism that much? You know, because like I said, right back in the summer, there was all those talks about how selfish he was for not wanting to play for his team, and he would keep fighting and fighting and
There's
fighting.
so much about him too. I remember his brother was on The Bachelor, and he pretty much exposed Aaron Rodgers for being a bad family member to his entire family. So I guess he just wants to, there's so much about him that people already don't like, that
Yeah.
another thing, it's like, oh, he's done. But this makes him look way worse now.
Oh
So
yeah. Yeah.
so
And it just
I don't know
continues to hurt his character, right? Like
100%. So I don't know what's gonna happen with that. There's still an investigation, as you said.
yeah.
We'll be hearing more about it. But I do want to move on to kind of more of the football news. Odell Beckham Jr., who was, I don't know, maybe not a Giants
Yeah.
legend, but he's definitely one of like the greatest Giants of all time, right? We traded him to the Browns a couple of years ago, and I freaked out when we traded him. I'm like, what are we doing? The Browns just released, or they're about to release Odell Beckham Jr. What is going on there? They're not happy with him. He's not happy with that team. There's a lot of drama going on in Cleveland.
Yeah, super, super surprised by that. I mean, everyone could have saw it happening this week because he was kicked out of practice and everything that was happening. I think his dad was it who posted something on Twitter
All about Baker, yeah.
So it was showing a whole video montage of all the times Baker didn't throw to him, which is kind of funny, right? But it's also terrible for the team.
Can't
I
do
think
that.
that's a direct like result of OBJ getting cut.
Yeah.
Like 100%. But it's surprising, right? Because that trade happened only like 2-3 years ago.
2018, yeah. It was March of 2018.
Right? And you guys got Peppers back in it. And he's out for the year now too.
Right. But
so
I do think I would say that we won that trade in the long run with
you
how
guys got
Peppers
a
has been before.
first-round pick too, right? I think.
Yeah.
So I would say you 100% did win it, because Odell, he was injured all of last year and he hasn't done much this year.
Nothing. I have not seen him do anything. I'm not doing fantasy this year. Are you in fantasy this year?
I'm actually not in any fantasy leagues this year either.
So I wonder how Odell's doing in fantasy. I'm guessing not great.
Not great. Yeah, because in reality, you just look at his stats, he's also not doing great.
Not doing great, injured. When he plays, he's barely playing. So he's being released. Where are we going to see him next? Because a team has to pick him up, right? Because he is Odell Beckham Jr. And maybe just with that right system again, he'll be that explosive player like he once was in 2015, 2014.
Yeah, and I mean that's what LeBron James thinks. He sent out a tweet the other day too, saying free OBJ and he's going to be great. He's still a number one receiver. I've never seen a fall off like so much from a guy. Like he was so good with your team, with the
catch,
Giants,
everything about him was like in 2016 especially, he was just unreal. And then even with Cleveland, like we all thought that him and Jarvis were going to make this crazy duo, and Baker, that team has so much talent, but maybe the problem is that there's just too much talent that Baker can't use it properly in a way, because there are so many weapons with that team.
Maybe
and
especially
Odell,
especially with the running backs. Like, but that's the thing, right? It's like Odell, I mean, he was so good, and the Browns made it to the playoffs last year without him. So it's like they've never really utilized his talent, and he's just completely dropped off. So yeah, the question is, where does he go now? And I don't know. I mean, I hear a lot about the Saints, which makes sense, and I would think the Saints is the best option. He's went to school in LSU, so he knows Louisiana, and Michael Thomas is not coming back for the Saints, right? This is a Saints team that's 5-2 as well.
Right.
And they just lost Jameis Winston for the year. So whoever they put into the fold, whether it's Trevor Siemian or Taysom Hill, whoever's playing quarterback is going to need some help out wide. So it just makes way too much sense for the Saints to sign Odell.
Definitely. I'm also hearing Green Bay.
Yeah.
I'm hearing lots of Green Bay. Maybe not right now because there's too much drama going on there. But I'm definitely hearing Green Bay. That'll be really interesting. But he needs to go somewhere where he can be wide receiver 1, and that's the problem though, because you got Devontae Adams there, and he's not able to shine the way he was able to shine in New York because he was our first guy. Shepard was 2, Cruz was 3 when they were back when he was still playing. He needs to go somewhere where he's number 1, and that is New Orleans with Thomas out. And so that's where he needs to be, but he also needs he needs to go somewhere with a quarterback. And if there's no Jameis Winston and Breeze retired, who's gonna be throwing him the ball? But he definitely needs to go somewhere where he can be number 1, because he just has that kind of ego where he needs to be the star. And that's just how a lot of guys are. And that's how he is. He doesn't want to share the spotlight.
Especially receivers, right? Like they're the biggest divas, when we talk about guys like Ocho Cinco and Terrell Owens and all receivers over the years, Randy Moss even, right? They're all great players, but they all get what they want, and like they want a quarterback and they want the ball, right? And that's why Odell's dad was, kind of upset that Odell wasn't getting thrown the ball in Cleveland. But that's the thing, right? He is gonna. I think that's such a super valid point that you made, because he's going to want to be a number 1 receiver. He's also going to want to play with a quarterback that's good, because is he going to want to go play for Taysom Hill or Trevor Siemian or one of those backups in New Orleans? I don't know, right? So. That's why Green Bay is a good choice. The Chiefs, I've heard the Chiefs a little bit. Again, he's not the number 1 there because they have Tyreek, but the Chiefs have taken on a lot of flyers. They've signed a lot of guys who are veterans. Like they signed Josh Gordon earlier this year.
Right.
They signed Le'Veon Bell a couple of years ago. So guys who have, I don't want to say washed up, but guys who have
they
really
need to prove themselves again.
Prove themselves. They've taken a chance on. So have the Patriots. That's another name. But again, rookie quarterback there. The thing is, though, he would for sure be the number 1 with New England.
I see that. You know what? That might be my number 1 destination for him, New England. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, it could be like, for me, I just think New Orleans makes way too much sense. And then New England and Green Bay, I think it would just be such a smart move for either of them, especially if they're both trying to, Green Bay is a Super Bowl contender. New England's trying to make the playoffs. Right. Odell is going to help you out big time, I would say.
For sure, if he's healthy,
for the Patriots' chances. Yeah, so that's super interesting. Like I said, I just never seen a guy that's so, big contract, huge catch, all this fame, all this notoriety, and then now he's cut, he's released. I mean, you just don't see that because he's pretty young. I wonder what his age is, right? Probably like 27, 28.
I think he's 27, 28, Odell, yeah.
Right, so
he's
that's
a young
still
guy.
Fairly young. So it's crazy to see his career go from here all the way down to there. Right, so we'll see.
But moving on with other news, Von Miller was traded to the Rams. So are the Rams going to be
great move?
Like the Rams have everybody.
Yeah, great move with this guy, with Jalen Ramsey there, Aaron Donald there, and now Von Miller there. Like, are you kidding me? Like that defense is stacked.
That guy has won a Super Bowl. He knows leadership. That's who you need on your team. Even if he's not going to be the number 1 guy, it's kind of like the JJ Watt situation, even though JJ Watt is out for the season once again.
Yeah.
I love that guy, but man, he cannot stay a full season. It's terrible. But they needed that guy on their team. Even now, still with JJ Watt out, they're still going to have that leadership by someone who's been around forever. But with this Rams team, they're going to have that leadership from someone who's been around forever, but who also has a Super Bowl. And he won. Did he not win Super Bowl MVP as well?
He was MVP. Yeah.
Exactly. That's who you want on your team. No matter what he does for that team, this is going to help them, even if he doesn't play one snap, because they have that leadership of a winner.
Yeah, exactly. Like that is huge. The fact that they have Von Miller there, a guy who's played so many playoff games, a guy who's won the Super Bowl MVP, like you said. And then you have Aaron Donald, who's been a part of the Rams for a long time. He was a part of their Super Bowl team when they played the Patriots a couple years back. And then this is not even talking about their offense, right? Like Their offense is so good now this year too. I
Cooper
don't know.
Kupp is
Yeah,
unreal.
it's unreal, right? We don't even have to talk about fantasy because I think we both know he's probably the top fantasy receiver, but
Yeah.
also just in stats, like if anybody hasn't seen Cooper Kupp's stats this year, they are off the chain. Like it is ridiculous. What he's been able to do through 8 games
Yeah.
is insane. And I think maybe 7 games. I think the Rams had a bye, but
Mhm.
still, it's insane. And Matthew Stafford is looking great
So
there.
good.
With Von Miller, like to me, it's my Super Bowl favorite, and I know I was high on the Bills, and I am still high on the Bills, very high on the Bills. But the Rams, I think they have the most complete roster. Like it is a stacked team. I don't know if you have the same sort of mindset. Would you pick anybody else in the NFC over the Rams, especially now with Miller there?
I'm gonna say Rams Bills Super Bowl.
Yeah, yeah, I would have to agree with you to be honest there.
Yeah.
Again, right? It's week 8. It's
Yeah.
early. I guess we're going to week 9,
Mhm.
but it's early still. So who knows if that comes to fruition? But as of right now, I think, and I don't think it's just us. I think it's very hard to disagree with the fact that they're the 2 best rosters in the NFL.
Just look at the
Right?
points that they score. Like these
Yeah,
Bills team, did they beat Miami 40 to nothing? And the Rams are
45-0. Yeah.
scoring over 30 points, 40 points a game.
Yeah. Well, the Rams came off a 38-10 victory over you guys or something like that 2 weeks
Oh
ago.
God, yeah, that was bad.
And then last week they played the Texans and
Mhm.
they were up 38-0. So
Yeah.
I know
Texans
those
almost came back
they
though.
did.
That was the
Yeah,
only
it
thing.
did finish like
Yeah.
38-22 or something.
Uh-huh.
But I know those are bad opponents for the Rams, and same with the
Yeah.
Bills when they beat down on the Dolphins and such. But
Right.
still, right? You can only play who's in front of you. You can only play who's on your schedule,
Mhm.
and it's not like they're squeaking by with victories. They are just blowing their opponents out of the water.
Mhm.
And the Rams also have beaten the Bucks. The Bills have also beaten the
Mhm.
Chiefs. So they
Mhm.
also have wins against good teams too. If the
Mhm.
Chiefs are that good, I don't know.
Well, the thing
But
about yeah, before we end it off, I do want to mention the Chiefs of how bad they are.
yeah, it's surprising. I think probably the surprise of the year, right?
I think we mentioned it last episode, but I think just everybody figured out Mahomes.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think he's like, yeah, he's impressive. Yeah, he's one of the best, but they figured out what he does. He's been in the league for a few years now. Every team has played him. They know what he's going to try to do. And just there's just other stuff going on with him as well because his brother is always getting like canceled on TikTok and his fiance is fighting people on Twitter. Like there's
Yeah.
just I feel like there might just be a lot in his head right now. Um and then Andy Reid, he had some health stuff a few weeks ago
Yeah.
as well,
Yep.
and I think there's just a lot going on with Kansas City, and just the fact that people have figured out what he's about. So,
I
are they
agree.
just no longer going to be that great anymore, or are they just in a bit of a rough patch?
Yeah. No, I mean, they're not going to be as great as they were over the past 2 years. They
Mhm.
certainly are nowhere near the way they were over the past 2 years. If you look at the way they played on Monday and the way they played this whole season, the thing is, everybody talks about their defense, and their defense is terrible. But their defense was never good
No.
last year or when they won the Super Bowl against the Niners 2 years ago.
I
Their defense was never good. So the
mhm.
problem is the offense now,
Yeah.
and it's 100% teams are catching up with Mahomes, and they just don't have enough other power. Like they have Hill and they have Kelsey, but outside of that, they don't have much. And I think defensive coordinators are realizing we
Mhm.
just really need to put 2 safeties up, make sure Tyreek Hill doesn't run past us for an 80-yard catch,
Yeah.
make sure we control the middle of the field, don't let Kelsey break 100 tackles,
Mhm.
and you might stop Mahomes, get some
Right.
pressure on Mahomes, and you might make him force some throws and throw some picks, which he
Right.
leads the league in interceptions.
Right. Like, look, the Giants pretty much beat the Chiefs. Like
Oh,
they should have won that game.
not a
It was
chance you guys should have
terrible.
lost that game. I was so upset watching that because of
It
course I
was,
was pulling for you guys.
of course, thank you. But like, we have our terrible Giants team, our fully injured team, no Saquon. Jones is just, Jones. I'm so impressed with Jones. I've been
Yeah,
loving Jones this year. Yeah, he hasn't been perfect, but I've been loving him. And we have this broken team, and we almost beat the Chiefs, the reigning Super Bowl champions from 2 years ago. They were in the Super Bowl last year, and we almost beat them. And
on the
this
road too,
on the
right?
road in
Yeah,
Kansas City, that does not happen. The Chiefs team that we all think we know, They would blow us out, like in New York, in Kansas City, doesn't matter. But the Giants practically won that game. It's not on our standings, but we practically won that game.
100%.
So I'm really very not impressed with that team anymore. And just even with the Cardinals too, like there's just a lot of teams that I'm just not impressed with anymore.
Yeah, and we'll
That
see this week. We're gonna get into we're gonna just talk briefly before we end here about some of the games this week, the big ones. Maybe give some picks. But yeah, the Cardinals are another one that I'm excited to see back in action, just to see if they can rebound from their loss last week. But maybe next week too, we'll really delve into kind of what we think about Daniel Jones, or what kind of the outlooks of maybe both of our teams, because I know we talked about how big of a year it was for Daniel Jones, and it's not his fault at all.
no,
I know the record's not good for you guys, but it's not his fault at all. Maybe we'll delve a little bit deeper into that next week.
definitely.
But yeah, I mean, big games this week. It's week 9.
Yeah.
Let's start just with that Packers and Chiefs game. Okay. Obviously, Rodgers is not playing.
Yeah.
Jordan Love is in. So we just talked about how bad the Chiefs are. We just talked about how Rodgers is out.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think?
No.
I personally, Packers are still going to win that game.
Really?
I just think the Chiefs are really, like we've just said,
Yeah.
the Chiefs are not the same team. I don't even think they're that good anymore. And they might not even make the playoffs in that division with the Chargers and the Raiders. Because I actually don't mind the Raiders, to be honest.
Okay.
They might not even make the playoffs. So
wow.
But I think Jordan Love is going to win his first game. I do.
Really? See, I was talking about that with my dad because we're doing our picks, and the spread is 0.5. So whoever wins the game, it's just a 1-point game because Rodgers was supposed to play. So of course, like if Rodgers played this game, it would have been so cool to watch Mahomes against Rodgers, but we're not getting that, of course.
Of course, yeah.
I can't go against the Chiefs though with a backup quarterback. If Rodgers was playing, then I would go Packers. But because it's Jordan Love, I don't know him enough. No one knows him, which could help them because no one knows him. But at the same time, it still is the Chiefs. Like I know I was kind of bashing on them for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just being how terrible they are. Yeah. They still know how to win games. They still know how to figure it out. Are they going to blow out a team? No. But I think they can still figure out this team. And I feel like when there's so much drama going on in one place, their heads aren't in the right spot. So now Devontae Adams, for example, needs to learn how to play with a new guy, right? Yep. Everybody needs to learn how to play with this new guy. And there's just drama going on. And now they're probably doing a bunch of testing, and there's probably too much going on there for their head to be straight. And this Chiefs team is just relaxed because they are coming off a win. It wasn't great, but I think they know where to fix their mistakes.
And so that might get them rolling a little bit, maybe. Yeah. But regardless, it is a backup quarterback against a team that's been to the last 2 Super Bowls. Yeah. So your point is really valid.
You have a good point, though. You definitely do.
Oh yeah, I mean, I might put down a good bit of money on the Packers this weekend.
Wow.
I wouldn't say confident because it is a backup quarterback, but I do think I'm more confident in the Packers roster and Jordan Love being able to do enough than I am confident in the Chiefs roster right now, because Monday night they looked terrible, and the Giants aren't that great of a team, as you know yourself. That was really, really surprising to see. Like we just said, there is no way the Chiefs should have won on Monday, but it is what it is. I mean, so Bills Jaguars play this weekend. That's always a big game in my house because my dad's a huge Bills fan.
Yes.
And I'm obviously a huge Jags fan. So we'll be watching that. That might be like 50-0 Bills. So we'll see.
I have Bills blowing them out. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think the spread on that is
14
and a half. Yeah, 15 points. And they're
I'm going
on the
Buffalo.
road.
I'm going with Buffalo. I'm sorry. I can't. We went with the Jags last week and they got blown out by the Seahawks. I'm sorry. I do like the Jaguars. I love Lawrence. Like I really want to cheer for you guys, but I have to pick the Bills. I have to pick the Bills to blow 100%. Them out by 40 points.
Yeah, if Geno Smith blew us out by 30 points, I think Josh Allen might put up 60 or 70 on us. Right? So the Giants, who do you guys got this week?
We are playing the Raiders this week.
Oh, that's
and we picked the Giants. I had to pick the Giants too because last week it's 2.5. So it's field goal game. Last week, the week when we played the Panthers, my dad says, let's go with the Panthers. And I'm like, no, we got to go with the Giants. We went with the Panthers, and of course the Giants won.
Yeah.
So I think my method is just never pick against the Giants, because the Giants do surprise you a lot of times, right? They blew out the Saints, they blew out the Panthers. You never know what they're gonna do. So we're going with the Giants. Also, there's a lot of stuff going on in Vegas with the Raiders. A lot of terrible news is happening around them. I don't want to make that a reason why we don't pick them, but I'm mainly just picking the Giants because they're my Giants.
Yeah. No, and that does make it harder. And we didn't touch on that at all this week, but super sad story from Vegas this week. So regardless, though, it's a 2.5 spread, so that's interesting.
It's a tough one.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to go with the Raiders there. Like I said, I'm pretty high on the Raiders.
They've been good. They've been really good.
I do like what the Raiders have done, and I think Derek Carr is having a really good year. So I'm gonna have to go with the Raiders there. There might be one other. I think there's one other fairly big game this weekend that I wanted to focus on.
Tennessee against the Rams.
That was it. Yeah, the Sunday night game. Yep.
Big. I'm going with Tennessee because it's a 7.5 spread. Just keep a close game. Tennessee is making a bit of a come up. Yeah.
I think the Rams are going to win, but based on the 7.5 spread, I'm with you. Like, Tennessee is going to keep that game pretty close. I think that's going to be a really, I can't wait till Sunday night to watch that. I'm
excited for that. Yeah.
I wish Derrick Henry was playing, because Derrick Henry against Donald and Miller and Ramsey would have been cool. Now we might see Adrian Peterson though.
Right.
Signing Adrian Peterson.
Right.
So that'll be interesting.
Cool. I'm excited for that. But so we're both going with the Titans on the spread, but we both think the Rams are going to win the game.
100%. We're in total agreement there. And then the last one I wanted to maybe focus on was Vikings Ravens. It's a big game for both teams in their pack divisions. Do you have the spread on that one?
Yeah, 5.5 Baltimore. So that's 1 by 6. I'm going with Baltimore. Both teams I'm not so sure of what they're about and what they can do, because Baltimore's either amazing one week or they get killed by the Bengals. I am going to go with the Ravens here, though, winning by a touchdown or so. Minnesota, they lost to a backup quarterback.
Cooper Rush. Yeah. Which, again, that's a game that they shouldn't have lost either. It was kind of similar to the Chiefs and Giants game, a game that Giants blew and a game that the Vikings blew. They both should have won those games, because the Vikings were up with like 40 seconds left and they had them at 3rd and 16 and they gave up a touchdown. Regardless, I think the Vikings are really falling off a cliff right now. It's a good team, but I think they're falling off a cliff and they need a change. I'm going to be with you on the Ravens there. So I think our main kind of disagreements are the big Packers Chiefs game and then the Giants Raiders game. So, but that Packers Chiefs game is going to be super interesting, and I know we've talked a lot about that throughout this episode. So
definitely awesome. So that's going to do it here. We'll be back with some probably even bigger news next week. Feels like every time we film, there's something huge going on with Gruden stuff. That's still going on, right? There's still an investigation. And then we got this Rodgers thing going on. So I'm sure next week will be something even bigger. Who knows? Yeah. Football season's back. We're happy.
It's every week, right? You gotta love it, right? It goes from the Gruden stuff to season-ending injuries to trades to Rodgers, lying. This whole Rodgers story. It's just never stops.
Never stopping. But once again, thank you all for watching. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are not already, and give this episode a like. We will see you guys soon. See ya.